Okay, hi Elodie, or hi floor manager, or whoever it is that deals with statements of correction. And I think just in this, actually, this is not a statement of correction. This is just me getting my word down direct to doctor without the confusion of a confused intermediary, because this is getting way out of hand and I don't know what's going on. Andre is lovely. He really, really is. I think he's a fabulous nurse. I think he's excellent at triage, and he's just a lovely person. But he had one voice in one ear and another voice in the other. And to be fair, he rang me back far more quickly than I expected to be rung back by a nurse. So I was still on the street and struggling to get on a bus. So we did not have the right circumstances for him to answer my question. And I think that's sort of a bit of a lesson to everyone, really. So this is not a statement of correction, but I have intended to make one because my first appointment with Dr. Hobbs was bizarro, and the notes that he wrote about me, even attributing the reason for my visit to him was wrong. I came to see him so I could get a renal panel, and he wrote that I had come in to get a gauge on where to from here. That was not at all the case. I first wanted to see where my nephrology status was at. I wouldn't ask where to from here until I'd got the sort of the basics, and it got all off track, and he was referring me to all sorts of places, and not very knowledgeably, I'm afraid. He doesn't seem to understand what some services do and what they don't, such as the Health and Disability Advocacy Service, which is neither run by the Health and Disability Commissioner nor does it advocate generally for people with health and disability needs. It's purely a complaints assistance service, and the whole thing is highly ironic considering that during the pretty unpleasant and argumentative appointment that we had, he insisted that things that I know to not be true are true about certain services. As a doctor, he knows some things, but as a patient, I know other things, and I have actually been a user of these services while he conceded that he had not been a user, only a referrer, so I'm not sure he's referring people to the correct places. Now, Matthew told me he was referring me to general medicine. He didn't even say he was going to refer me there. He said he would put out feelers, basically, because he had doubts that they'd be able to see me. But this is about my general poor medical condition. I'm in really bad shape. And he was just, as far as I was aware, he just wanted me to get checked out and just properly sort of looked at in a more general sense, and maybe get a bit of a gauge on what's going on with my health. Now, this preceded my the results of my renal, or as they say in the CDHB nephrology panel, which I had requested myself. Now, the reason I had requested this nephrology panel, having not engaged with the nephrology service at hospital for most of my time in Christchurch, was because I have some glimmer of hope of being homed now, and I was wondering where my renal condition was, and just to get a picture of that and have a bit of a think about what to do. So there were three things that Dr. Hobbs was going to do. He was going to refer me to general medicine, which is a specialist department. of the hospital, as in a secondary, like a specialist department, general medicine, like general practice. That's not psychiatry, that's not nephrology. But he didn't have high hopes considering how overloaded they were. He was also going to refer me to the HIP, which I've accepted, and social worker, which I've accepted. And you can see that in the notes that he's corrected a note finally, although not according to his legal responsibilities, where he's accused me of cancelling the HIP appointment, whereas I said I did not cancel it. It was postponed by the clinic because the HIP was away. I was to see her on Tuesday last week, but I'm seeing her in 2 days' time. So he's, I find him really, really loopy, and that's a loopy doctor is a real hazard to a vulnerable patient. Now, his first notes on my first session were bonkers, and I need to do a statement of correction, and I especially need to do a statement of correction now. All of this has gone way out of hand. I'm not going to raise a complaint. All that he's doing is now destroying my little bit of hope that maybe I have reason to live and try to save my kidney, because I can't keep fighting medical abuse and incompetence, which I've been doing for quite a long time. And the more contact one has with the medical system, the more opportunities one has to encounter incompetent or perhaps not very nice or medical practitioners. And Dr. Hobbs seemed to think that was paranoia, but there he is doing it himself. He's doing exactly what the Health and Disability Commission, Health and Disability, not Commission, Advocate, which is an independent service, had said to me back in Wellington, do not let these notes move with you to your next medical centre because you will never get rid of them, they will poison you. And I told him about that, and that's when he made this outlandish claim in my notes that I said that 40% of health practitioners are subclinically narcissistic. I never said that. And all this other fucking weird stuff. So it's just ironic and tragic. So I got the panel. Now, I think Matthew has failed spectacularly in his medico-legal duties by not ringing me or having someone else ring me to discuss the results. The results were quite frightening. It shows probably stage 2 renal failure and verging on hyperkalemia, and I've got anemia. And it's probably not iron deficiency by the look of it. It's probably erythropoietin, and explains why I can't gain weight and why I've been so tired and increasingly down in my mood, because that's what anemia does to me, it always did. So I was by myself when I picked up those results. I wasn't expecting to see results. I thought I would be wrong, because that is normal when results like that come through. I mean, my creatinine is 150, for God's sake, and my EGFR was 35. I mean, even though I had an intention to let my kidney fail because of my dismal life circumstances, it doesn't mean that someone shouldn't break the news, but gently. So I was sort of thrown into a bit of a state, and I didn't really know what to do, and I was going to come into the clinic, and I actually made a phone call to say that I was coming in, and could I please pick up my medications from the clinic reception, because I was going to be a bit late. I expected to spend some time in hospital, so I ended up being too late to get to the pharmacy in time. And I ended up being really running too late to get to the clinic I just ended up, I was just in town in a real flap, and I just thought, look, I'm just going to go straight to an ED because I was in town. And I was in ED overnight, and I'm still wearing the bracelet, and I don't think that Matthew Hobbs has any awareness of this, but maybe Elodie will have had the hospital notes through. I did not see a psychiatrist while I was there. I saw a house officer. That was the only doctor I saw was a house officer called Callum. Callum never suggested psychiatry. He did suggest social work. I said, well, let's hold our horses here. Social work is being investigated for me by my medical centre. I'm just sort of more interested in what the renal nephrology panel is. And so the tests were eventually repeated, and they showed, I was not given figures, but they were unchanged largely, says Callum. Although he is a house officer, so I'm not sure how much he was interpreting himself. He was vaguely referring to the guidance of an on-call kind of general specialist sort of renal oncology, sort of general specialist. Those two often come together. And originally I was going to be taken onto the ward and seen the next morning by the team, and then after a very, very bad sleep in ED, I was discharged in the morning, being told a little bit distressingly that the nephrology team would be in touch with me, and if I hadn't heard from them within a couple of weeks, to make contact myself, which was really disheartening, to be honest. But I have to take responsibility for that. But what I can't take responsibility for is what Dr. Hobbs did not disclose to me, but disclosed to nephrology, and he shouldn't have done that without my permission. It's against the law, sharing my medical information. You can't share anyone's medical information without their permission, not even to other practitioners, especially not in such a delicate situation. He had shared my results with the nephrology team. This is what Callum had told me. He'd seen the correspondence himself. And he said the correspondence that came back to Dr. Hobbs from nephrology was that Caitlin was most welcome to come back into the fold, and she could make contact at any time. Now, Dr. Hobbs did not tell me this. So I had done all of this of my own volition. And for someone who's really teetering on whether or not she thinks she's got a life that's possible to live, these kinds of information are vitally important. And you can see in my records since then that I've requested my renal meds again, because I am thinking about trying to save my kidney, but I'm very confused. I'm feeling like I reached out and no hand really reached back for me, and I accepted after I have to take responsibility for that. But what I can't take responsibility for is what Dr. Hobbs did not disclose to me, but disclosed to nephrology, and he shouldn't have done that without to get a nurse call back, because I really want to get to the bottom of it. I'm confused by the letter sent
it's possible to live. These kinds of information are vitally important. And you can see in my records since then that I've requested my renal meds again because I am thinking about trying to save my kidney, but I'm very confused. I'm feeling like I reached out and no hand really reached back for me. And I accept that that's my fault. But it's not a psychiatric issue. And I don't understand why Dr. Hobbs would refer me to psychiatry without talking to me about it. And I don't know if he did. I'm very confused by the letter sent by Elodie. And I don't understand why Elodie refers to the psychiatrist, the being an indefinite pronoun, referring to a specific psychiatrist, presumably one that I've been consulted by, talking about changing my psychotropic medications. But I just don't know what's happened. So that's when I thought, well, I'm probably not going to get to see Elodie before the 2nd, and that's when I rang to get a nurse call back because I really want to get to the bottom of this, and I'm really unstable because my life is unstable and I'm trying to keep as much stability as I can. I've got somewhere to live for a couple of months. And in the meantime, I've got an awful lot to do to try to repair my life. And see if there's some hope. And Dr. Hobbs was saying that my problems were 100% psychiatric. I said, come on. They can't be 100% psychiatric, and he insisted that they were. He didn't seem to take into account my physical problems. He wouldn't even say, okay, 90% psychiatric. And then it turned out by psychiatric he meant my autism. Which isn't psychiatric, it's neuropsychiatric. It's not the same thing. And anyway, I'll leave it there because I'm getting into the statement of correction territory, but I just needed to get my word in because I don't know what the hell is going on, and things are just spiralling out of control, and I don't know what is going on. No one's telling me what's going on. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Who is a psychiatrist supposed to have been? I don't have no idea. Dr. Hobbs has written very patchy notes. He's left a hell of a lot of gaps, and I'm entitled to all of the information, and I assume that my ED discharge notes will have made their way through from Callum. I can't remember his last name. He introduced himself as Callum, and he was a lovely doctor. I was very surprised he was a house officer. He was astute and wise, well beyond that level, and very good doctor. And he was really trying to get a little bit more of a connection going for me, but was having a lot of trouble doing so. But Dr. Hobbs and then Andre seemed, in turns, there must be some notes that are saying that I'm being obstructive or, obstinate or something, whereas I'm very much trying to make moves in the right direction. I just need more encouragement and less, frankly, abuse than this if I'm to get over this very fine razor blade that I'm sitting on. I need some answers.